everyone, welcome to Pace Yourself. I'm Mia Pacey, and today we're going to be talking about the transform element in Flow and how you can use it to compare text collections. That might sound very complicated, it is, but let me talk to you about a use case that might be helpful to understand logic. Here we've got tasks that are assigned to a queue. And imagine we've got a whole bunch of support people and they have to choose a particular task to action next, but the company has multiple layers of logic, so they don't actually know which one to select next. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a screen flow that gives them something to just choose the next two coming up based on logic, right? So here we're going to just start with a screen flow. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tasks in the queue. So my object is going to be task, and I'm going to make sure some criteria is met. So I'm going to say assign to, and unfortunately here I'm just going to use a record ID, which is a queue ID, but ideally you should use a get element to go and get those queues and collect the ID within the flow dynamically. It's not best practice to hard code IDs. But imagine I've done the best way possible and we'll move on. The next one is I just want to get the tasks that are still open. And I want to order them. So I'm going to ascending by activity due date, and I'm going to collect all the records. Okay, so now we've done that. I'm going to transform this into a text collection, and I'm going to do that so that I can use it. So I'm going to choose my source data, which is our get tasks, and I'm going to create our collection variable for our text. So I'm doing it here in the window. It's the same as if you were creating a text variable in the toolbox. So it's a text, allow multiple values, creates it as a collection. Now here, as my label describes, I'm actually going to be storing the account ID, and I'm going to do that so that I can use it in the next get. So I'm not storing the tasks ID as a text. I'm actually just storing the account IDs from those tasks. Okay, so to do next, we're going to get our accounts that we manage. So there's no point having a sales rep action tasks that are not related to them. So you can do this when it's like a territory or a different subdivision of how you create your tasks or your accounts or your workload. So in this instance, we are users, we own accounts, and then we therefore have to maintain those accounts. So here I'm going to go get accounts. And the field is owner ID is going to be the running user. So the running user ID, and this is where you can use your transformed text element. So we're going to say the account ID is in that lovely text collection of account IDs. Now the reason I'm doing this is because your org might have lots and lots of accounts owned by one user, and that's going to slow down your processing time for your get. So when possible, it's always very reliable to reduce your conditions and filter it so that you're not getting too many things and returning everything that's not needed. So in this one, we're only getting a small subset of accounts, but I do want to store all of them. And I'm going to do the same again for my transform. So this time I'm transforming our account IDs that we just got, and I'm going to store them as a text collection. This time I'm using the account ID as our value that we're going to put into our collection. And because now we're getting to the pointy end of things, I'm going to see if we actually found anything. So the first decision is a yes, we have found tasks. And the way I'm going to do that is actually I'm going to look at the accounts from the get accounts record to see if we actually found anything. So I'm going to say, is it null? And it's going to be no. And then anything else will go down our default decisions, which I always update as best practice to something more understandable. So in our yes tasks as found, the next thing I'm going to do is a get. And the reason I'm doing this is because you can't filter a record collection based on if they are in a text collection. So I have to go and get the user tasks. So here my object will be task, if I can spell it correctly. And I'm looking for if the account ID is in our text collection for get accounts. So the reason I couldn't do the filter one for the top get record is because if you see here, I say I want to filter my original text, but I can't say the task that you're filtering is in the list that you got from your accounts. There's no way to say is in another text collection. So we had to do another get there. So now we're going to go and we're going to sort by activity date because that's the next complex logic in our orgs logic. And we're going to say we only want 2. So for purposes of this demo, we're just going to add a screen in here to see if everything worked fine. I'm going to add a data table. I'm going to configure that to show us our collection. So let's give it a save. So now that has been created and saved, let's run a debug. Now there you go, our data table has shown us 2 records that we can then go on to select and start using. Or here's one I prepared differently that has a visual picker that you can use to show the next task. But up to you the way you show it. We're just talking about how the transform element works to create text collections and compare things so that you get a reduced filtered text collection of records or text, whatever you want to say, as an outcome. So thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope to see you on the next one.